Sai Satcharitra Vidmahe Satya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayatu.
ఓం శ్రీ సత్యసాయి పరబ్రహ్మణే నమః. తపోవనం శ్రీ సత్యసాయి సచ్చరిత్రము చాప్టర్ 16. ద సిగ్నిఫికెన్స్ ఆఫ్ నామస్మరణ. హరే నామ హరే నామ హరే నామైవ కేవలం కలౌ నాస్త్యేవ గతిరన్యథా. Chanting of the Lord's name is the only way to liberation in the Kali age. God's name only will redeem us. Any mighty task can be achieved by chanting the divine name. Baba. Namasmaran means remembering or chanting God's name repeatedly. It is one of the spiritual practices enjoined on an aspirant endeavoring to reach God. The importance Swami attaches to it is illustrated by an incident. A devotee asked Swami, we often hear about total surrender, Sharanagati. How is one to accomplish it? Swami answered softly, Bangaru, Sharanagati is beyond you. Why do you bother about it? Resort to Namasmarana. God Himself will be at your beck and call. Swami once explained the special significance of Namasmaran. It is the most sublime of all the spiritual practices. It consists of Japam, chanting of God's name repeatedly. It is the most infallible penance, tapas. Kuchala could attain Lord Sri Krishna's grace only through Namasmaran. When you do Namasmaran, intone the name with fervor, deep devotion and love, it bestows on you immense benefit. In this Kali Yuga, Namasmaran is enough to earn salvation and release from the otherwise unbroken cycle of birth and death. Namasmaran is the one and only divine medicine capable of curing you of lack of mental equanimity, avarice and other ills which torment you. It gives you abiding peace and contentment. The name you choose can be any one of the thousands of names of God, or it can be any one of the names now in common use in any religion, country or region of the world, or in any section of devotees. Select any name and devote at least 5 minutes every day for a Namasmaran. Make it a part of your daily routine. It will give you immense benefit. Tulasamma. A long time ago, a devotee called Tulasamma was residing in Prasanthi Nilayam. Once, while she was going to her native place by auto rickshaw, the vehicle dashed against a wayside tree and overturned at a deserted place. She was seriously wounded in her wrist. While falling down from the auto rickshaw, she loudly cried, Sai Ram. Within moments of accident, a car arrived at that lonely spot. The driver picked up both Tulasamma and the auto driver and took them to his house. The lady was aware that her wound was serious enough, but as she came to know later, she had been rescued from a more terrible fate. During interrogation, the auto driver revealed some startling details. When he noticed expensive gold ornaments on her body, he was tempted to rob them. That was why he drove to that isolated spot and intentionally crashed into the tree. He expected Tulasamma to become unconscious and he would be able to get away with her ornaments. But at the moment of impact, she suddenly cried out, Sai Ram. That Namasmarana had the effect of changing his mind. He was surprised that just at that moment of her terrible ordeal, she could utter God's name so fervently. He felt that she must be very noble and pious and that he should not rob such a lady. Moreover, although normally This part was most of the time unfrequented. Surprisingly, on that specific day, somebody came in a car at the crucial moment and ruined his plan. The auto driver was disturbed at this coincidence. Was it divine intercession? The poor fellow shuddered at the very thought. The driver confessed all this to Tulashamma, narrated every detail of the incident and expressed sincere remorse. He did not stop there. From that time onwards, he became friendly and very close to her. He would visit her often and inquire about her welfare. He became, as it were, an intimate friend in fact, a well-meaning relative. This episode highlights the power of Namasmaran. Namasmaran means summoning God. Peddabottu, the great devotee of Bhagawan Sathya Sai Baba, of whom we read about earlier, often asked him, Swami, what is meditation, dhyana, and how to do it? Swami used to put her off. He would merely say, don't bother about dhyana. You are doing Namasmaran. That is good enough. One night she was sleeping under a tree opposite Swami's residence. As it began to drizzle, she removed herself from there and prepared to sleep in the veranda outside Swami's room. As she was making her bed, she said to herself, as a matter of habit, Om Sri Sai Ram. Swami came out and pulled her up. You stupid, won't you allow me to sleep? Peddabottu said, Swami, who stopped you from sleeping? Swami retorted, when you are summoning me, how can I go to bed and sleep? The poor lady explained, I am in the habit of doing Namasmaran and uttered Om Sri Sai Ram within myself. I did not intend to call you. Bhagawan called her. What does that Japam mean? It amounts to calling me. Namasmaran is no different from summoning the God. Namasmaran means telephoning God. Murthy, the Kasturi's son, was doing research in geology. In that connection, he had to tour forest areas in Assam. On one occasion, when he was alone, a wild bear noticed him and began closing in on him. Murthy fled for his life, but the animal continued to chase him. As he ran over some rocks in his desperate flight to safety, he tripped and fell down, but continued to cry loudly, Baba, Baba, Baba. Within moments, a motor truck appeared there from nowhere and Murthy found safety by getting into it. After a few months, he happened to be in Prasanthi Nilayam. Swami told him, I received your phone call and dispatched a truck. Did it reach you in time? Maya, the terrible dog. Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba once described the power of Maya in a metaphorical way. He said, God is the master of Maya, delusion, illusion, ignorance, whatever it may be. Maya is like a terrible dog standing guard at the entrance of the God's home and does not allow outsiders to come near him. If you are earnest about reaching God, there are only two ways. The first course is to put on the form of the master, then the dog does not harm you at all. This is known as Sarupya, that is, assuming God's form. But you should not make the slightest mistake, otherwise the dog will not spare you. The second course is to cry out for the master in a loud voice. He will hear you cry. He comes to you, receives you with open arms, and holding your hand leads you inside with overflowing kindness. This is called Samipya, that is, being in closest company with God. The dog will not do any harm to you, as you are with his master. Being God's pet dog, Maya obeys him. If he wills it not to give you trouble, you will not be touched. You will know no fear. What a simple and beautiful parable Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai has given us. He has revealed how he, of his own violation, surrenders to his devotee. How easy is the second course. The devotee has only to call God most earnestly, with all his heart, with agony in his voice, with yearning suffusing his whole being. This is Namasmaran. Millions of Sai devotees have found through personal experience that God responds to Namasmarana and presents himself before his devotee with boundless mercy and compassion. Baba's exhortation is that Incessant namasmaran of a deity so elevates the devotee that he attains the form of that deity. Bhagavan says that incessant smaran of Lord Sri Rama's name by his brother Bharata resulted in Ramayana, in the latter looking like Sri Rama to all. A similar thing happened with Uddhava in Sri Mahabhagavata, who did uninterrupted smaran of Lord Sri Krishna's name. Earnest prayer. When you do Namasmaran, fill it with great longing, anguish and love for God. God always looks mainly for the intensity in his devotees' prayer, said Baba, and illustrated the statement with the following charming story. Adi Shankara was then a little child. Their family deity was goddess Rajarajeswari. Shankara's father used to worship the Devi every day. One day, he had to go out to some place on business. Therefore, he entrusted the task of Devi worship to the little boy. The child performed worship as usual and ritually offered milk to the deity. He waited and waited and waited in expectation. He had always believed that Devi was actually drinking the milk offered by his father every day. So he waited for Devi to take milk. But it did not happen. In great anguish and with tears flowing down his cheeks, the little boy earnestly pleaded, "What is the matter, my mother? Won't you accept milk offered by me? Won't you bless me with your grace?" The motherly heart of the Supreme Mother melted in compassion and pity on seeing the agony in the tender child's heart, and she gulped down the whole of the milk that the little devotee offered. Shankara knows that the milk which his father daily offers to Devi was treated as holy, and after puja, his father would give a little of that as tirtham, liquid prasadam, to every member of his family. But on this day, not a drop remained for such distribution. The goddess has taken all in a single gulp. He feared that other members of the family would suspect him of having swallowed the entire quantity of milk. Overcome by shame and desperation, Shankara wept. Moved by his distress again, the merciful Devi filled the container full with milk. She did not pour milk from her hand. The milk that she gave came directly from the Divine Mother's breast. Shankara's agonized prayer was thus amply fulfilled by the mother. An exactly similar incident happened very recently, which Swami narrated as follows. A person who is now here among you suddenly cried out, "Swami," in an excited and loud voice. I sensed the distress, faith and yearning in that cry. What happened was that the sari of his wife had caught fire. Flames raged. Stunned by terror, she could not remember me. The husband was helpless and desperate and cried out for me. Their place is 200 miles away from here. The moment I heard the call, I was there and put out the flames before much harm could be done. What drew me there was this deep anguish in that cry. I am ever waiting for you. One day, during Swami's public audience, a devotee was continuously calling him in great anguish. "Swami, Swami." Swami noticed him and invited him into the interview room. He was longing for Swami's love, for Swami's divine proximity, and for an opportunity of conversing with Swami. Swami entered the room, closed the door, and was bolting it. The devotee could not hold himself any longer. He blurted out, "Swami, I have been waiting for you for the last 3 weeks. For 3 long weeks, Swami." Swami turned around and said affectionately, "Bangaru, do you know for how many years I have been waiting for you?" The man was thunderstruck. Bhagawan? Actually waiting for him? He was overwhelmed at that thought. Unable to bear the impact of the flood of Baba's love, he started weeping. Yet, it is a fact that Swami is waiting every moment for each one of us, wondering, when will he come? When? He says, "Whenever you come to me, Bangaru, you will find me awaiting your arrival." But the devotees excuse themselves. "Swami, I cannot come just now. I am deeply entangled in many things. I find myself enslaved. I am unable to come at present, Swami." Bhagavan is indulgent. He reassures his devotees, "Don't worry at all, Bangaru. It does not matter when you will be able to come. Take your own time. But so far as I am concerned, I will always be awaiting you. That arrival may take several lifetimes or births even. Several devotees plead for a personal interview with Swami. Swami, Swami, interview please. They cry out. He answers, wait, wait. It does not mean merely that they should await their turn. It also means that they are too weighty, too heavy. They have to long for many more years, or even many more years. In some cases, they have to suffer the agony of not being called to his presence. After they undergo some tapas, after some penance, Swami invites them for interview. That is to say, the seeker should first lose weight through austerity, self-mortification, incessant namasmaran and meditation on Swami. He has to unburden himself of the load of evils like attachment and hatred, raga, dvesha, which are weighing him down. When the devotee prepares himself in this manner, when the burden of weight is shed and he becomes light, Swami would certainly invite him to come close to him. Swami himself explained this in a different manner. He said, the more you come close to me, the more you earn my love, you become more likely to burn. What will be burnt are our evils, defects and impurities. Such a burning leads to spiritual purification, to refinement, as the process of burning is accompanied by Swami's love, which acts as shield. The aspirant is able to withstand the fiery ordeal. The oppressed are my children. When Sri Kasturi was principal of a college in Davanagere, Karnataka, he had an attendant called Ananthappa. That man had great devotion for Swami. He would gather puja materials like flowers, fruit, joss, sticks and camphor needed for the bhajans in his master's home. To ensure that they were of the best quality, he would scout the entire market shop by shop. Standing in front of Swami's picture in the house, he would implore him most pitiably to let a flower drop into his hand. He would be alone in front of Swami's picture, conversing with him. When a faded garland removed from Swami's image was given to him, he would treat it as holy prasadam. One day, Swami gave one of his photographs, a large one, to Sri Kasturi and told him, take this to Davanagere and place it in Ananthappa's temple. Ananthappa's humble shanty truly became a temple by Baba's word. Vibhuti was dropping out of that photograph and countless people came seeking it. Once, Swami remarked also that Ananthappa was like Vibhishana in Sri Lanka in Ramayana. The husband of Ananthappa's younger daughter was working in the Department of Railways in Mysore. The couple stayed in an obscure house in Bangalore. That fellow was of a suspicious nature. He doubted even his wife's chastity. He harassed her incessantly. He was confined to a room like a prisoner. Nobody could intervene and bring him to the path of reason. Unable to put up with such persecution, the poor woman implored her husband to take her to Sri Sathya Sai Baba in Puttaparthi. If Baba declared her to be chaste, she said, her husband should let her be in peace, otherwise she would end her life in Puttaparthi itself. Ananthappa, his wife, their daughter and son-in-law travelled to Puttaparthi. Swami was all kindness. He invited them into the interview room and told Ananthappa's son-in-law, your wife is illustrious and as pure as Sita, wife of Lord Sri Rama. She is like goddess Parvati, consort of Lord Shiva. He tried to reason with him, but the fellow did not relish Swami's words and became abusive. Swami threw him out and closed the door on him. He advised Ananthappa not to worry. He also assured him that the man would surely mend his way soon and live in happiness with his wife. On the way back, they reached Penigonda late in the night. They sat in the railway station awaiting the midnight train from Guntakal. Ananthappa's son-in-law went blabbering and rubbishing holy men and mendicants. Ananthappa was distressed because the man had not obviously changed his evil ways. The train steamed in at midnight. The boy helped Ananthappa, his wife, and daughter into a third class coach of the train and boarded a first class coach himself. He could travel in a first class coach as he was a railway employee. At about 1 am, that is an hour after midnight, the train stopped at a station called Tundi Bhavi. Suddenly, Ananthapa's son-in-law began screaming in pain and moaning loudly. Hearing the disturbing noise, the god came into the railway staff in the station gathered to find out what has happened. And what was the problem? The fellow was found rubbing his cheeks. Terror-stricken, he was furtively looking all around. The god asked him, "Who entered this compartment? Who slapped your cheeks?" Weeping and moaning, he got down from the train, went and sat in the station master's room and told him what had happened. About 6 miles ahead of Tondibavi station, he said, lights in the compartment were suddenly switched on. I got up and sat on my berth. There was a reddish illumination as if Sai Baba had filled the whole space. Baba started slapping my cheeks. He was all over the space around me and I was receiving slaps from every direction. As he beat on my cheeks, he was saying, "You refuse to believe me when I say that your wife is innocent and chaste. Will you stop harassing her or not? She is my child. Not only she, all the oppressed are my children. Will you obey me? Will you?" As the train approached this station, the reddish illumination disappeared. Normal bright light took its place. After this incident, there was radical transformation in the couple's lives. They started living amicably in complete harmony and love. After a few months, Bhagawan Baba was conversing with some devotees. He said that Sirdi Sai Baba would often display anger, but this present avatar was one of love. Sri Kasturi meekly interjected, "Swami, in this present avatar, did you not beat anyone?" Baba replied, "I am now the personification of love." But Sri Kasturi persisted, "In this avatar, haven't you beaten anybody else?" To that Swami said, "Are you referring to Anantappa's son-in-law? What I did to him was only out of love for him." Sri Kasturi then said, "Swami's love and grace were amply showered on that poor simple girl." The ever compassionate Baba added, "Yes, on that son-in-law too." Goat and mind. A king called several villagers together and gifted each of them a goat with an order that every animal should be well fed by its keeper. But he imposed just a single condition. When the goats were brought back to him when ordered, they should not be eating green leaves at all. In fact, they should display total distaste for leaves. As an incentive to the villagers, he announced a reward of 10,000 rupees to the villagers who would successfully tend the goats as directed. The villagers thought that if a goat was fully fed and if its stomach was full, it could take nothing more. It would refuse even green leaves. So they made it a habit to feed the animals so fully that they would not wish to touch anything. A girl, however, followed a different method of training her goat. She placed green leaves before the goat, and when the animal was about to feed on them, she gave a beating on its mouth with a stick. Repetition of this procedure had the effect of deterring the animal from touching green leaves even when they were placed right before it, although its stomach was not full. Some time later, the king ordered the villagers to present the goats for inspection. He found that the goats started eating leaves as soon as they were placed before them. But there was one goat that was not even looking at the leaves. Instead, it was looking at the stick its keeper held. The king was delighted and promptly presented 10,000 rupees to the girl who successfully trained that particular goat in the manner ordered by him. Control of mind also requires similar hard training and severe discipline. Arjuna, eminent that he was, admitted, "Chanchalam hi manaha Krishna, pramadi balavadridam." O Krishna, mind is unsteady and fickle, confusing, strong and inflexible. He prayed to Krishna to enlighten him of how to subdue and control such a difficult and unruly mind. There is no doubt that the holy way to conquer the mind is to practice arduous and relentless spiritual discipline, that is sadhana. Om Sri Satya Sai ParabrahmaNe Namaha. Tapovanam Sri Satya Sai Satcharitram chapter 16 ends. Sarvam Sri Satya Sai Charana Arvinda Arpanamastu. Om Sri Sai Ram.